Did you ever get a bill or an invoice in the mail that you hadn't anticipated? Did you ever look at an invoice and go, am I going to pay that or not? Today we talk about what happens when your recovery sends you a bill or an invoice and you have to decide, am I going to pay this bill or not? Today on Finding Traction, we talk about recovery invoices. Welcome aboard.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, as we move towards the spring of 2023, I know it says it's spring, but it's still cold here, and I'm desperately waiting for the warm weather, unlike some of you guys that I know are getting warm weather. One of the things that I do love to do, as certainly we move towards warmer weather, is say, guys, how can I help? I'd love to connect with guys. I have different people calling me. I've talked to guys and worked with guys from Australia, Europe. I work with guys from the UK. I know you're not part of Europe anymore. The States. I've worked with guys from South America and Canada. And so it's fun. It's fun for me to connect with guys from different backgrounds, different faith backgrounds or no faith backgrounds. Everyone's got this common thing where they go, you know what? I am getting to a point where I am starting to feel like porn is no longer serving me. And they get to that point. Now, that's kind of stage one. You know, porn is no longer serving me. It's not in my best interests. The second thing that often happens is guys go, okay, well, it was one thing for me to decide that, but now when I'm actually trying to usher it out of my life, I realize, doggone it, this is a lot harder for me to get rid of this. And some guys go, I've tried many different ways, and I realize that, you know, awareness is one thing, but actually now effectively getting rid of it is easier said than done. And so that's kind of where I come in. Again, I love to connect with guys. We do groups. I talk with guys individually and just say, how can we help? How can we help so that you can put this behind you and get on with that great phrase, your best life. So if you want to chat about any of those things, you can connect with me at bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com. Or you can get an initial idea of me by just checking out the website, bandofbrothers.care. And you'll get a little bit more information there and see some of the ways that perhaps we can connect or things that could help. All right, well, let's go back to this idea of getting an invoice. You get an invoice from this company called Your Recovery. Recently, I have been getting a lot of invoices, and some of them I actually don't plan on paying. Let me explain. Last year, we moved my mother-in-law back from Arizona to Canada, and she was struggling with dementia and needed greater care. So we moved her back to Canada here. And one of the things that I got the great job, don't forget, whenever you marry somebody, you marry their whole family. Just a word to the wise there. And one of the things that I'm realizing is I get the unenviable task, first of all, of sorting out my mother-in-law's finances. And then after that, I am now her financial power of attorney, and I take care of her bills. And so one of the things in moving her back to Canada, I took care of many of the bills that were outstanding. But there's a couple ones that have just, driven me nuts. This credit card, this Macy's, We called and thought we had paid it off. And then they said, oh no, there was extra interest charges and now those are compounding. And if you don't pay these extra interest charges, we're going to send it to collection. And I'm at the point of just going, screw you. I get those bills and I just rip them up. And there's a couple others like that. If it's a legitimate bill, that's one thing. But I get some of these invoices and I'm going, you know what? I don't plan on paying that. Just because you invoice me doesn't mean that I'm going to pay. Now, I want to take this idea of invoices and I want to apply it to our recovery. And let me just talk about those sorts of recovery invoices that you will have to face as you get into this thing called recovery. And now, I know that some of you are thinking, oh, he's going to talk about getting into a paid group. That's the invoice he's talking about, right? This is a big leverage point to get into his group. That's not where I'm going with this. If you want to, read about or listen to the idea of skin in the game, go back and listen to the last podcast. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is this idea of paying costs. Now, what do I mean? Well, first of all, let me say this. When we started our recovery, we started this path out of porn. We did because we wanted to stop paying the costs that were associated with our acting out behaviors. Whether it was things like lost time, lost money, lost intimacy with people around us, problems with our partner, loss of respect, either others towards us or us towards ourselves, lost emotional health. All of those are costs that we were paying because of our acting out behaviors. And we just got tired of paying our acting out invoices, going, you know what? These acting out behaviors keep sending me invoices and I just don't feel like I have any option but to pay them. So, we decided, okay, well, I don't want to pay those costs. In fact, rather than those costs, I would like instead to experience some benefits. People talk about the benefits of walking free and clear from porn, and you're going, I want to experience those benefits. Benefits like peace of mind, better physical health or emotional health or spiritual health, greater confidence, more harmonious relationships, et cetera, et cetera. I want those benefits. I am tired of paying the costs that are associated with my acting out behaviors. And I want to experience the benefits that recovery is promising. And let me just say, those are accurate, real benefits from people who are in recovery. Anyone, that has experienced any sort of long-term sobriety would be able to identify with those benefits and go, absolutely, I am experiencing those things in my life. And I know that's probably why you're listening to this, why you are working on your recovery. And what sometimes throws people is the idea that your recovery is about, yes, it's all about the benefits that are being offered to you, but there are costs associated with recovery. There are invoices that recovery would send to you. And that comes as a surprise to guys because you're going, whoa, costs? Again, I'm not talking about just groups. I'm talking about certain types of costs where you in your recovery will have to say, oh my goodness, am I willing to pay this invoice if I'm going to continually move forward in my recovery? So, let me give you a few different examples of different types of costs, and you might have thought of different ones, but these are just some examples. First of all, here's a cost that you have to decide if you're going to pay. Are you willing to limit your freedom? If you are, that is a cost. Because before this, we kind of associated the word freedom with doing anything we wanted whenever we wanted to do it. That was what we thought was freedom. And the idea that freedom comes with limits on our life, that's a cost. There's a song, and I can't remember who it's from. I have it on my playlist, and it goes, "Just because I can doesn't mean I should." That's a cost of freedom. So at a broader level, you're going, okay, well, there's a great book out there. I think it's called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. I think Peter Scazzaro. And he has a whole chapter called The Gift of Limits. Living within limits can feel like a restraint, but people who are emotionally recovery mature realize, you know what? Those limits are actually on the short end of it, or the front end of it, they feel like a cost, but longer term, they're actually greater freedom and greater benefits. So that's the broadest sense. First of all, there is a cost to changing our definition of freedom. Here's another cost. We are faced with whether or not we're going to pay the invoice around accepting limits around our entertainment. You know, we have, if you're anything like me, you've come to associate certain things with entertainment, whether it's social media sites or streaming services or whatever it is. However, video games, they've met a big desire for you. They've given you a lot of entertainment. And but some of us have realized certain parts, certain forms of those entertainments have become inextricably linked with our edging and our acting out. And recovery might say, you know what? That's something that you can't simply go down that pathway and just entertain yourself like you want, because you know where that leads. And we go, what? You're going, that's an invoice. That's a bill. I'm not sure I want to pay that bill, because that feels like a cost to me. And in one sense, it is a cost. For example, I had a video game I really loved. I loved playing it, but I also would continue to look forward to the next cutscene that provided sort of graphic sexual imagery. And at some point I decide, you know what? I'm spending way too much thinking about this, and this is not good for my recovery. It's not sound behavior. And I eventually decided I need to pay the bill, the invoice around limit, or just removing this, saying, no, I actually took the video game and smashed, bent it in half and it broke. And that was a cost for me. And I had to go, in fact, I felt sad for a couple days because I was going, rats, I really liked that game. That was a cost that I had to face and look at. For you, it could be social media. YouTube could be an obvious one. Or, how many times do I hear guys, doesn't matter what you look up, it's like you get a picture of a scantily clad girl doing car mechanics or playing guitar or whatever. It's like, give me a break, right? And if that just becomes something where it's not helping you in your recovery, you're just going, okay, how am I going? Is this a cost, an invoice that I'm willing to pay? So that's another cost. I've had people say, I had to decide whether or not I was going to pay the invoice or the cost around, my pot smoking or my drinking, because I just realized those things have led to lowering of my inhibitions. And I just find that when I'm indulging, when I'm doing something that I really enjoy, like a few glasses of really, really good wine or really, really good whiskey, whatever that is, or a perfect, blend from the cannabis store. Yes, I live on the West Coast. I just noticed that becomes associated, that just becomes associated with acting out. I've got guys that have told me, going to a club or the bars, I really enjoy it. But I've realized that this is not conducive for my recovery, for building healthy relationships. I go and it's just like I'm edging with as many girls as I can, even verbally, and whether or not I bring somebody home or not isn't really the issue. It just gets me kind of elevated in being aroused. And this is not helpful to me, even though this has been a big part of how I enjoyed to spend certain evenings. Right? You're going, why can't I live the way I want? Why do I have to limit my actions from how I used to live? Why do I still need to keep paying recovery costs? Why does recovery keep sending me bills? Now, let me just, and this would be a good time to say and to remind you, remember why you started. You got tired of paying the much greater, more painful costs that were associated with your acting out. They were more acute, they were more painful, right? And you wanted the benefits that recovery would give you. But now you're realizing to have an ongoing experience of recovering, there are costs that you need to pay towards the greater benefit, which is down the road. And there's so much of this short-term and long-term thinking that enters into the picture here. This whole idea that sometimes we pay for something in the short term, so down the road we have a greater benefit. That is such a crucial aspect of recovery. The idea of compound interest. I put money into a retirement plan or a savings plan that gives me a good interest rate. And all that means in the short term is I don't have that money to spend on myself, but I'm doing so to gain the benefits of compounding interest. Used to be I stopped using that example because you didn't get any money when you put it in what GICs or now of course at 6, 5, 6, 7%, some of that compounding interest metaphors, they start making sense again. Here's an example from our own life. We've had 3 kids, and I don't know who told me this. I was so glad they told me this. With all 3 of our kids, we decided to put money into, up in Canada, it's called an RESP, Registered Educational Savings Plan. And for all 3 of our kids, before they turned 1, we started putting, it was like back in the day, $30 or $40 or $50 per kid per month as they came along. And let me tell you, at the time, we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. And it was like that money, that $100 to $150 a month, that was money that cost when we were having a hard time meeting our budget. But we just started it. And, it was an automatic deduction. And when all 3 of our kids graduated from high school, all 3 of them essentially had their college paid for. They all graduated. One exception with my one child because of other decisions they wanted to do. But all 3 of them essentially graduated debt-free from university because of a decision I made early. I'm going to pay the ongoing costs associated, which were painful at one level, for greater benefit later on. So here's the bad news. The bad news is, despite and however long your recovery goes on for, there still will be costs associated with you walking out this road of recovery. But here's the good news. The costs are worth it in comparison to the greater benefit which you're accruing. Every time you make one of those good decisions, you are essentially voting for a better future and the life that you're looking forward to. So anyways, just wanted to throw that out, something to think about. One of the purposes, somebody said to me, I listened to your podcast like a few other guys, and I listen to them sometimes. It's not even that I need to learn something new about recovery, but I just listen to it because I just want to be reminded and motivated that I'm on the right road. So again, I want to encourage you. You're on the right road and you're moving towards a better future. And I just hope that you just have a great day in your recovery. And we'll see you next time.